Hi there, I am MisterBo, and today we're going to be talking about whether or not Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time will eventually make its way over to PC and Nintendo Switch. Now if you do enjoy this video, click that like button because it really does help support this channel, and if you aren't already, subscribe so you get to stay up to date with all my content. Now we know currently that it's coming to PS4 and Xbox One, and at least on the Xbox side at the moment, we know it's going to be playable on Xbox Series X, and we've heard that every game that passed certification after July on the PlayStation side has to be able to run on PS5, so if you are someone who's going to be upgrading to the next gen consoles like myself, don't worry, your copy of Crash Bandicoot 4 will still work on those consoles. But the bigger question has been, are we going to be seeing these games make their way to other platforms other than Xbox and PlayStation? Now we don't have any official confirmation, but there have been some interesting pieces of information, as well as some leaks from credible leakers in the past who suggest that we might be seeing it on those platforms eventually. So let's rewind back to the Insane Trilogy. Of course, it was a PlayStation 4 launch exclusive. It launched on PlayStation, and then a year later, we saw it release on the Nintendo Switch, PC, as well as Xbox. Now with PC, it launched on Steam. We can also take a look at the Spyro Reignited trilogy. Again, that launched on Xbox and PlayStation on day one, and then around a year later, we saw it release on Nintendo Switch and PC. So up to that point, Activision had a pretty good track record of releasing their games on pretty much all the platforms. That then changed with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Now Nitro Fueled launched on PlayStation 4, Xbox One and Nintendo Switch all on day one. And then fast forward a year to where we are now, and we still have yet to see a PC release for Nitro Fueled. So I think that's pretty safe to assume that we're probably not getting a Nitro Fueled PC release anytime soon, if at all ever. But I don't believe that rules out the fact that we won't be seeing a PC release for Crash 4. Nitro Fueled is a different style of game. It's a kart racer and not a platformer, and it also has online play. Activision may have not wanted to release Nitro Fueled on PC due to modding and the potential of cheaters online. But then things get interesting. We then go to the beginning of this year, and Activision announces Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remastered, and they announce it for 3 platforms: Xbox, PS4, and PC via the Epic Games Store. Now because they announced Tony Hawk to be releasing on PC day one, a lot of people had kind of assumed that that meant that Crash Bandicoot 4 would probably release on PC day one as well, and unfortunately that isn't the case. So I mentioned at the beginning that we have some information about the PC release and the Nintendo Switch release, so what is that? Well, to put it shortly, the official statement from Activision is basically, hey, we're listening, and if people want it, then we may think about doing it in the future. Which of course is your standard PR response, because they're not going to say yes it is coming to PC and Switch and lose sales on the PS4 and Xbox version, and vice versa. They're not going to say no, and then this game does incredibly well on PS4 and Xbox and they want to do a double dip and release it on Switch and PC. However, we actually have some information from a known Crash Bandicoot leaker. So the user over on Twitter called ViewerAnon, who you might remember, leaked out details about Crash Bandicoot 4 in around November last year, and they were spot on accurate. They mentioned that it would include masks, they mentioned that you'd be able to play as Crash and Coco, they even mentioned you'd be able to play as Cortex and experience levels from a different perspective. And that all lined up correctly. What makes this person even more credible is that they're usually scooping the movie industry and not the games industry. When they originally leaked out this Crash Bandicoot 4 information, they said, hey, I don't really do gaming industry stuff that much, but here's some information I've heard. So what does ViewerAnon have to say for this? Well, they said, as far as I know, Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is PS4/Xbox One only. No next gen, with Switch and PC versions sometime next year. Now one thing you may notice about this tweet is it was tweeted on June 21st, so that was the day before the Crash Bandicoot reveal. And they called that it was going to be on PS4 and Xbox One, no next gen, which it certainly is. And then they said we're getting a Switch and PC version next year, which lines up with what we saw with the Insane Trilogy and the Spyro Reignited trilogy. So I think it's probably safe to say at this point that we are going to be seeing a PC and Switch release, because it just makes a whole lot of sense. Why Activision wouldn't want to release it on those platforms, I don't know. It's more sales for them, which of course in turn means more money. But that kind of then brings up another question with the PC release. Where would we see the PC version release? Would we see it on Steam? Would we see it on the Blizzard launcher? Would we see it on the Epic Games Store? Well, with Call of Duty, Activision releases them now on the Blizzard launcher. However, I don't think you're going to be seeing a game like Crash Bandicoot over there because it's mainly for their tentpole franchises like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Diablo, etc. And I don't think we're going to be seeing it launch on Steam. The last game that Activision released on Steam was the Spyro Reignited trilogy. And yes, the Epic Games Store did exist then, but it wasn't really what it is now. It was still in its infancy. However, we are now seeing that Activision is releasing on the Epic Games Store with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, and that's probably because Epic Games Store don't take as big of a cut as Steam does. And I think Activision are looking at this saying, hey, we could release this game on Steam or we could release it on the Epic Games Store. We'd earn more money from the sales on the Epic Games Store, so that seems like the better move here. They've seen the success of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which didn't launch on Steam and has done incredibly well. Of course, there is a free-to-play version, but still, it's done incredibly well on the PC side of things, which might make Activision go, hey, releasing a game on Steam doesn't mean it's not going to do well. We could probably launch Crash 4 on the Epic Games Store like we're doing with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, and it's still going to do very well, and we will just make more money from it. So I think if we are going to be seeing a PC release, it's more than likely going to be on the Epic Games Store unless something drastic happens over the next year. So there you have it. That is the information we currently have on whether or not we're going to be seeing a PC or Switch release. The main bit of information comes from that viewer anon tweet, which I think kind of has flown under the radar. Not a lot of people have seen it, I don't believe. And again, this person's got a really good track record with Crash 4. Just one day tweeted out a load of stuff about Crash 4 and nailed it on everything. So I feel like we can put some trust in what they say. Of course, this is not just a one-way conversation. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you want to see Crash 4 release on PC and Switch? What launcher would you like to see it release for on PC? Would you want Steam? Would you want the Epic Games Store? Would you want it on the Blizzard launcher? And would you like to see a re-release for next-gen consoles? Of course, we know on the Xbox side of things, if you have, say, the Xbox One version, and then they release an Xbox Series X version, your Xbox One version should get the smart delivery option and basically upgrade you to that next-gen version. We don't really know how that works on the PlayStation at this current time, but hey, a next-gen version where they kind of give us enhanced graphics and frame rates and all that kind of stuff would be pretty cool to see if this game does well. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then click that like button to help show your support. If you aren't already, subscribe so you get to stay up to date with all my content. We've got a busy few months leading up to the release of Crash Bandicoot 4, and I'm excited to cover as much of it as I can. Also, if you'd like to, you can follow me over on Twitter at @IamMisterBo. Trying to make my way to 1,000 followers over there at the moment, just about 200 off at this current time, so hopefully we can get there by the end of the year. Also, if you'd like to, you can join our Discord server. We have a link to that in the description below. A nice chill place to hang out and chat. And we've just introduced a photo mode chat so you can share cinematic shots from all the games you're playing. I'm currently doing a lot of stuff in Ghost of Tsushima. Apart from all of that though, thank you very much for watching and for hanging out. I really do appreciate all the support on the channel. You guys are amazing. And as always, hopefully you take care. Bye bye.